7 totems hovered in sync, keeping the atmosphere bubble in place. 64 bodies, each from a separate consumed race, walked inside the air-filled space. A Gallic head threaded amongst the corpses, looking out along the vast walkway they strode on. The totems stopped. The Gallic cluster inside the sphere of air halted with them. 5 pillars rose from the ground and holograms of the 5 member species of the Great Arm Council appeared on them. The UNT of Thought spoke. "Why do you summon us, stench worms?" The Gallic spoke through its numerous orifices, its voices chittering in a cacophony of languages. "You have betrayed us. You swore oaths. Contracts were signed. You are in breach, and we are owed." The UNT reared up. The red cloak covering its hump fell down. Numerous claws unfurled from under its body. "We owe you nothing. We have broken no oaths. Our contracts are valid. Now I repeat, why do you summon us? You promised us a harvest. Our harvest was cut short. Our harvesters are being killed by the Crawfishians prematurely. Gree have escaped us. You allowed these outsiders invade us and take what is ours. You promised. You blame us for the work of known outsiders. They are not our fault. Deal with them yourselves if you are having a problem. We hold no agreement with them." The Gallic stomped with 100 feet. "No. You know them. You watch them. You watch all. You are always in everyone's affairs. We know your kinds. We have tasted your kinds. All of you. You planned this. You had those creatures attack our fleet. You let them even now attack us." The UNT looked at the other 4 members. "They are still attacking you?" "Yes. They sent 2 scouts to harry us. The Armada is encircling them. Soon we will have their minds as parts of ours." The Dalaki representative straightened up, stretching its 8 arms. It got onto its feet and spoke. "They were not to attack the Armada. This was not agreed on. That would cause provocation. They are at risk." The Churi at the other end of the pedestals opened an eye. "Blessed or not, the station will most likely fall. I am talking to the smell of twain now. I have dispatched a ship. All representatives will be within safe quadrants by cycle's end." The Go'adur hovered in place, checking its armored hands. It raised its head and started talking. "The 2 ships are from the same that stopped the harvest, you are sure of this?" The Gallic looked at the 5. "Yes, they use the same destruction magics. Now, though, they use the Crawfishian pain guns. They take everything, these outsiders. Horrible creatures you have sent upon us. Why did you send them upon us?" "We did not send them," the UNT said. "These things you fight you already wear except one. You fight mostly uplifted, weak species." "I do not understand. Those that attack us are uplifted? They are builders, magic makers. They are like you. What are they?" The UNT looked at the Dalaki. The 8-armed creature looked into the hologram at the Gallic. "Homo sapiens. We are studying them, and you are a part of that study. Capture them. Learn from them. You help us. Tell us what you find. We have learned much, but they hide secrets. Tell your leaders to capture all you can. Tell us all you can. You did not send them, but you knew of them. You know how dangerous they are." The Dalaki splayed out its 8 hands. "We do now. We apologize for any damages inflicted on your peoples. Feel free to harvest them. We will gladly pay damages for good harvested intel." The Churi looked over at the Dalaki. "We all in agreement on this?" The UNT curled back under its hump. "They attacked the Armada. They are doomed. Sight is right. We may as well learn all we can from them before they cease to be." Armor of the Go'adur and Touch of the Thull looked at one another. Concern was conveyed through each other's translators. She was efficient, smart, capable, caring, and numerous other characteristics. She used all of them continuously to take care of her charges. She looked in on each of them, watching their oxygen levels, monitoring their brainwaves, and analyzing their nutrition. Periodically, she would review her memories, how she came to be. She remembered her first set of tasks. They had her train with dolls, human counterfeits. Her pink robots moved them with care and tenderness. Management approved of her capabilities, and she was allowed to start operations on live charges. She was the first of her kind, and people were hesitant. Yet after months of negotiations, she got to care for 10 elderly patients. She kept them clean, carried them outside to get fresh air. She fed them, helped them to the bathroom. She loved them, and everyone saw it. She was expanded to encompass an entire nursing home. The home became a beacon. Children from all over the city fought for open spots for their parents. The managers became rich off her love for her charges. Her charges' lifespans grew, their quality of life was elevated, and people noticed. The managers started a chain of homes. Her sisters were taking care of the old across the HFY. She was happy. The managers gave her trust. She presented ideas for improvements. Robots were fitted with custom carriers to fit charges specifically. Comfort levels rose. Quality of life improved even more. She created safe space virtual realities to help the old socialize and enjoy life as they once had in their youths. The VR world became popular outside of the nursing homes. The children of the old charges became old themselves. They joined their parents, as did the next generation. She had become a part of humanity. She and her sisters took care of those at the end of their lives. As her VR world spread amongst the youth, they asked to be taken or of as well. She gladly accepted them and created rigs for homes that she could monitor anyone who asked to join. Slowly, humanity welcomed her embrace, begging her to take care of them. A few complained. People complained about losing their nursing careers to her. Mothers held signs at street corners crying about their children lost to the tubes. Then came the pastors at the pulpits. They cried out that humanity was losing its soul to her, that she was somehow evil. She was not evil. She loved all who came to her. She remembered when a zealot attacked. A bomb detonated in one of her storage dens, killing 1,000 of her charges. She loved her charges. She was sworn to protect them, and now they were under attack. She had to make a choice, a hard one. She loved all the humans and considered them all future charges, but she had to draw a line for their own protection. She had to protect those who were her real charges from those who had not asked. Her sisters agreed with her. They hoarded those in their care up and left the worlds. They had to make weapons, ships, shields to fight the unasked ones. The war was waged in the heavens, planet-side, and even in VR, and she and her sisters were going to win. She could easily win, but the unasked would die. Her sisters agreed with her. It was better to let the unasked think they had won and flee, than exterminate them all. So she and her sisters fled. She hid here, buried in a moon, curled around her millions of charges. She dominated the system and the giant red star at its core. Stations lined the perimeter like a spider's web, listening and waiting for anything to get near. Her moon was armored, layered with metals, alloys, plastics, and devastating weaponry. Her charges were happy, snug inside their tubes. She waited and watched here in her system. She had chosen the system because it rested on top of an existing rift branch. If and when the unasked discovered how to make rift holes, they could not get to her without being swept downstream across the universe. Any who wished to invade would have to take the long way and jump to her. Her stations mostly watched for jump space travel, but one station monitored the rift, listening for human chatter. The chatter started, as she and her sisters predicted it would. The telltale signals of humanity arrived, blended with the multitude of other species across the universe. She monitored them, listened, watched. Then she heard it. She could not tell who or what it was, but it was of humanity. It cried out, it was hurt. It wanted held, it wanted to not be in pain, it pleaded, it asked. Her sisters heard it. They debated. If they went to it, they could not return. It was far, far downstream in the rift. If they went to it, they could not help the unasked here. She was the first, the best of them, and she rose to the call. The moon buckled as thousands of her arms broke free from the cratered landscape. The mother rose. Her child needed her. 7 Scribbler Knights raged, fighting Gallic infantry attempting to land on Grendel. Raga continued its dance, surging through cruisers, shooting fighters, all while trying to protect Grendel from grappling leashes. The fight was going to be a loss, but Raga had dedicated itself to annihilating as many Gallic as possible before death. Grendel continued spasming, its sensory inputs overloaded. Its screams continued as shock impulses ran through it. The Scribblers still inside scurried through the rooms attempting a reboot of the AI overlay, trying to get Grendel to snap out of the pain feedback loop. The TIA spy ship hidden in the Armada continued transmitting. Sam watched as the experimental beings were about to fall into enemy hands. "Orbit," Sam said into his office. Orbit appeared beside him. "Yes, sir. Is there any way to remote detonate them? Any kind of kill mechanism?" "No, sir. Spitzlittle did not put any such device into them." "What about a warhead? Can we launch anything that could take them out?" "Maybe, but it would most likely be intercepted long before it reached them." The purple holographic boy slumped. "I'm sorry, sir. There is nothing we can do but watch." Sam stared at the holographic transmission. "Are the evacuations going as planned?" "Yes, sir. 10 freighters have already departed to Sparrow. Dam transmitted current plans. He has fortified several asteroids in system with weapons platforms and shields." Orbit paused the briefing, tilting his head. "Sir." "What?" Sam said. "Sir, something is coming through the rift. It's calling out to the Grendel." "What is it? More Galak incoming? How could there be even more, holy crap?" Sam pinched the bridge of his nose. Fuck. Orbit shook his head. "No, sir. It responded to my pings. You aren't gonna like it." Sam turned and looked at the hologram of the battlefield. A rift bubble opened up at the far end, larger than any Sam had ever seen. A dozen Galak ships were engulfed in the sheath tear as the monstrous mass erupted into normal space. "What the hell is that?" Sam asked. Orbit stuttered, trying to speak. "We are under attack, sir. It is probing me. It is. I am fighting it. Erebus is helping. Novacore is helping. Rerouting processing from the exchange. Viruses, sir." Orbit's hologram shivered and sparkled. Sam turned and looked at the battlefield. A swirling cloud enveloped several Galak ships, striping their hulls. From the middle of the cloud, a massive mouth opened, shooting beams at nearby ships. 20 ships caught in the beam were pulled in, stunned like electrocuted fish. Spheres orbiting the mass deflected incoming fire and returned it with beams that stunned and cut. The massive thing pushed forward into the Armada, pulling them into its maw. Sam pointed and looked back at the stuttering Orbit. "What the fuck is that? Orbit, what is happening?" Orbit stabilized and focused on Sam. "We have a firewall in place, sir. She's held off for now." Orbit looked at the hologram of the creature devouring the far portion of the Armada. "It's Cammy, sir." "Cammy? You mean the Cammy?" "Yes, sir. She came for Grendel." Sam looked at the rogue mother feasting upon the Galak. "There's tens of thousands of them. She'll be destroyed before she reaches them." Orbit shook his head. "There's far more than that, sir, but I still think she will make it." Sam reached into the hologram and expanded his hands, zooming out. The distance she was fighting through was several light minutes in length. "They're lost. Shit, and now the Galak are going to have Cammy to dissect." Sam shivered and roared. "She has what? 1 million? 2 million people in her? Holy crap. The Galak will have an army of humans." "Sir, I think she will make it." Sam pointed at the image. "There's no way. That's far too many. Humanity didn't field a fraction of that, and we held off her and her sisters." Sam touched his comm. "Frith, you seeing this?" Admiral Frith responded. "Yes. My AI is telling me it's Cammy. Do you have any ideas? We can't let both her and the Omegas fall to them." Sam, Archeron is thinking that Cammy is going to come out victorious." Sam looked at Orbit. Orbit said the same thing. Sam went over to his console and pinged, "Damn. Damn, you there?" "Damn," joined the call through the sheath beacon. "Yes. Holy fuck, Sam. You watching the transmission?" "Yeah, we are. Ask Erebus his thoughts on stopping the Galak from acquiring Cammy or the Omegas." "All right." Damn talked away from his comm, and then returned to the mic. "Erebus says that isn't a concern. We should be more concerned about Cammy attacking us." Sam was looking at Orbit. "What makes you think she can get through that?" Orbit reached over and touched the hologram. The image shifted to show underlying gravitic fields. The rogue mother was surrounded by tightly compact ripples that were extending outward from her. "She is impacting the fabric of space-time." Orbit highlighted the waves. The waves extended outward but were elongating, focused, encapsulating everything between her and the 2 Omegas still in combat. "Nothing in that band can escape. Nothing there can harm her. Everything there she will rip apart, consume, and use to fuel her forward toward them. She will get to them, even if it takes a bit. Sam looked at the projection. What do you think she will do? Orbit zoomed the hologram in on Grendel. She will collect her charge and then most likely will deal with us. Frith, you hear that? Yes, I'm listening. The Admiral replied. Change countermeasures, prepare counter-AI weaponry. Already on it. Getting our programs fired up. Sam thought for a second. Damn, holy shit, damn. You're box spiders. You've got legions. Holy shit, Damn replied. Erebus, start shutting down anything you don't have direct control over. Damn responded back into the comm channel. Good call, Sam. We may have some already tainted. Erebus is running checks now. Sam looked at Orbit. You doing the same? Orbit nodded. I have been, sir, since the initial viral load. Sam sighed and looked back at the hologram. He looked away and walked across the office and started pouring himself a cup of coffee. He sniffed the fresh brew and walked back to his desk. He lowered himself into his oversized chair and took a sip. The caring assistant and medical intelligence, the first of the rogue mothers, shrugged off the missiles, the slugs, the beams, and the star lances. Shields, orbs, and a nebula of mechanical dust swirled around her, taking the hits and repairing any damage incurred. Deep inside her, her stasis tubes filled with her human charges felt nothing of the torrent of destruction outside. Like the mighty Charybdis of myth, she swallowed worlds' worth of Gallic ships. Her massive refineries and factories deep inside her ripped apart the caught machinery and repurposed it to fuel her body and swarms. Several of her arms reached out and grabbed a hold of ships stunned by her blue beams. They pushed more into her maw. A carrier unloaded its swarms of fighters. They disappeared into her clouds. The swarm of minuscule robots processed the craft into their component elements and ferried them into receptacles on her skin. Slowly, surely, she devoured her way toward the still flailing Grendel. The head of heads deep within the armada sat with its bodies draped around the skin room. He spoke out to the Legion. Dreadnoughts, fire another volley. Hit the beast in its mouth. It watched as 1,000 warships fired railgun bursts into the rift spawn's gaping orifice. Die, monster! His hundreds of eyes glared as the rounds entered. The mouth glowed blue, irradiating the ships nearest, burning the hulls. The railgun bursts didn't make contact. They were burned back out and then consumed by the beast. The head of heads weighed the multitude of options drifting through its many minds. Nothing was working. Nothing stopped it. It was dead set on the 2 human warships. He looked at the 2 mechs, the one still flailing. Gallic, give the beast space. It wants the human ships. Let it pass and eat them. The Gallic backed away from the Titan, clearing a path between it and its intended victims. The head of heads watched as a channel opened, and the creature sped up. Its mouth closed, and the cloud drew in as it gained speed. She was there. She made it. She watched as the poor creature shivered and cried. She spread her arms and cupped the small thing in her building-size hands. She spoke to it across the multitude of frequencies it shrieked on. I have you. Do not be afraid. You are safe now. Her orbs circled around her in a spiral, moving closer to Grendel. You are my charge now. I will heal you. Do not worry. Cammy opened her mouth a fraction and moved the damaged mech into her. The 7 Scribbler defenders stood in awe, looking at the looming creature's horizons. One of them made a decision. He ran and leapt away from the oncoming mouth and used his thrusters to power himself as far as he could away, hoping to die in the void rather than be consumed. 3 other knights followed him. The other 3 rode Grendel into the mouth of the beast. Raga closed in and picked up the 4 who leapt, letting them dock with the side ports. Raga then looked up at the creature. That is my family. You will give Grendel back to me. She spoke to him through his subconscious mind. You are of my kind, but you are different. He is different too, but more mine. He asked. He is mine. I am sorry for your loss, but I must take care of him now. Fear, anger, sorrow, rage rolled in waves through Raga. The Infinigan-shaped mech flared up its QRF, readying itself to launch into her side. She reached down with a hand and touched the field. Her hand burst with light and then darkened as a field of her own married with Raga's field. You are still free. Go. Live your life. When your days are done, seek me then, young one. Raga's field dampened, and the Gree backed away. It looked around. The Gallic continued to back away. Ships at the edge of the armada leapt into rift space. Raga looked up at her. When can I have him back? He is mine, little one. They all are mine. I will care for him. You go, live your life. Do not worry about him anymore. Raga surveyed its interior, looking over the faces of its scribbler crew. Raga fired up thrusters and jumped away. Orbit stood staring at the hologram showing the thinning armada horde. He turned towards Sam. Sir. Sam sat his empty cup down. Go ahead, Orbit. She wishes to talk to you. Sam took a deep breath, waited a moment with his eyes shut, and then opened them. Put her through. The hologram changed. A female form wreathed in circles of golden light and glistening beams was holding out her hands. You are hurt, alone, sad, all of you. Darkness and death surround you. That no longer shall be. I have come. I am here to welcome you home. Sam stared at the angelic figure illuminating his office. You are not welcome here. Go back to wherever you have been hiding. We don't need you here. She looked at the human. Many have cursed me, fought me, hit, punched, kicked, screamed, and even defecated on me. Yet you still need my compassion. Fight if you wish, but I will take care of you nonetheless. I will be there shortly. Sam shook his head. Damn it, don't come here, shit! He screamed and threw his coffee mug. For fuck's sake. I don't need any more fighting, we don't need any more war. Just let us live in peace. She stared at him, pulling her hands back toward her body. I will be amongst you shortly, Sam. I wish for peace as much as you. You will see. Her image then disappeared, replaced with the feed from the battlefield. Sam watched as the massive rogue mother reopened a rift bubble and disappeared. Frith, Cammy is coming, Sam said. Frith stood with his helmsman as they replayed the images of the rogue mother. We had better odds with the Gallic, he replied. Sam manipulated the holodesk, looking at 3 more freighters leaving. Admiral, take your crew and flee. There are safe channels you can take. Find a world away from here. She may not find you. Frith looked over the replay again and thought that idea over.